Good morning, or whatever it is wherever you are. So I've got a process I've been using to generate lists of tiles to generate for the mapping program. And my goodness, at a certain level, it becomes ridiculously slow. We're currently at, well, it ran all night for the other server. We're currently at 5 hours in, 19 hours to go, estimated. 0.00 log files per second. So I'm wondering if maybe Ruby isn't the right environment for that. And we're practically doing one output file per day. I was supposed to be like condensing a whole bunch of stuff, but it's just so spread out. And the other interesting problem is that I'm also got a little script running the mapping off of previously generated layers. And now a Git will not change back to my mapping project because that program is running. So we have to figure out how do we force a Git checkout. Actually, what was the error message? Cannot stat. Git pull. Well, this is Git. Git pull is probably the same thing. Locking some of the files. Closing the solution. Yeah, the problem is that this thing has been running for like ages, and I really don't want to abandon the program. Rebooting. Prior Git actions. Nope, same one. Doesn't really force. Yeah, it's a different thing. I've run into that. Unable to create. Okay, sure. So we just kind of leave that hanging. And whenever we get a chance, we'll be able to go back to there. All right, so I want a more efficient version of this. And it just so happens that, now, normally I might be looking for something besides C++, but it just so happens that the game engine has a database that hashes coordinates, which is what we want. And I don't know what any other environment would have that might allow you to do similar sort of XY coordinate hashing easily. So that's what I'm thinking about. It's going to be an interesting process. It's probably going to be a little bit more like the KISS test. PWD, server, CD server? No, that's KissDB. KISS test. Probably going to be something a little bit smaller like this. And there's a make KISS test. Remove some databases. Does a G++ call, which we're going to have to add some stuff to. I might not even want to write out the databases. That removing them was more important for that. But then I want to remove them afterwards. So this is going to be like... Oh, the Ruby script was scene tiles. Okay. So this is going to need linear DB2, no, linear DB3. I presume DB common. And, do we want map or do we want linear DB? Nothing in map. Get object? Apparently it called quite a lot. Oh no, that's the object database thing. Get map object. Object record, nothing in map. Oh, it's dbget. Okay. So it's linear db3. Linear db3 get. No, dbget is still Oh, there's dbget. dbget cached. db. Int quad to key. Well, I don't need an int quad to key, but that would be easier bits to reuse. Int quad to key is defined here, so we would, if we just want to be reusing things, we would want map. X, Y, in slot. Oh, then there's an int pair to key. Oh, must be scene tiles. Do I have anything that's mapping? That's the closest. So we're going to need map.cpp, and we might have to tweak with it a little bit more. I have a very, 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 very slow process to generate the scene tile lists, and I'm curious if I can use the game's XY to database hash to make a faster version. Otherwise, I might like investigate some other language besides C++, but I happen to have a XY hashing database, so seems like it might be something I can reuse forwardly. But I have a version of the map up. It's just sort of continued tile generation. And admittedly, it's probably very much wishful thinking to be trying to do some of the higher detail levels, but it seemed like an easy thing to have running in the background. It's like literally taking a day. That seems a bit much if I ever need to redo things. So we've got, that might be all we need. Now for scene tiles, it's going to be kind of an interesting mashup of Kiss. Kiss test is kind of an example of a pretty small project that just used the database. On the other hand, we're going to be kind of like server, but this just needs so much more stuff. So Kiss test. So we're going to do scene tiles.cpp. Oh, yep. There's stuff in here that we can't do in on Windows. So we're not actually doing KissDB, StackDB, LinearDB 1 or 2. The rest I don't know about. These are probably testing parameters. These we can probably... just flush out to use LinearDB3. And we probably don't need most of this. Oh, well, there's int parity key. That's one of the main things we needed from the map file. So maybe I don't need map. Malloc delta is the thing we don't have easy access to. Iterate values. This stuff I might be able to easily pull out from. Okay. Time, sure. Oh, well, one nice thing is I had a little progress bar for the C1. We're going to need to be able to DB open. And I can probably reference back to the test for most of this. I just kind of wanted a template for how a C project that used the database would look. I guess there are some XY loops here, just something we're going to need. Although actually I have to deal with parsing the logs first. Oh. How about a DB close? All right. DB name is the thing that from the other defines. We are going to, well, for starters, we can do something like we just need to work on parsing one file at first. And then sort of build our way up to some directory traversal. So our test file, if we're running from here, we're in server, one life, offsite, documents, output, and actually, do I have anything? You're kind of here. I guess we can even go for the more recent one. Which key was it? Copy as path. Actually, we can probably go. This thinks it's Unixy. So first of all, we have to be able to get some data in. And the annoying thing about starting over like this is we have to do all of our parsing again. So eventually we'll be specifying we'll be specifying servers and zooms and start off nice and large and simple. Although we're going to have to test it at higher things to see if it makes a difference. So we are going to be %s, %d, server zoom, we need to have a database. And in theory, we might need this to be a, need something else. Oh, if I am operating at the database level, my key size could be different. Int pair to key into an 8-byte key. It's going up to 4? I plus 4. Offset times 8. Well, offset is the shift. Hey Lizzie, how's it going? I guess we'll just trust that. How would I... Int quad to key is also I less than 4, but it's taking in 4 values. Int pair to key is just saving you specifying some zeros, I guess? Yeah, it says 8 bytes, but it's still an iteration of 4. I guess the I plus is different. Oh, this is doing some shifting by different amounts to hash it up, I guess. So that's the 4 bytes, that's... okay. So 2 ints to an 8-byte key. This is the biome DB. Int pair to key. Where do we create biome DB? I have never messed with muxing. What kind of muxing do you mean? Yep. 232-bit ints. Biome number, second place. Oh, okay. Well, the easy answer there is Restream.io, which if you're not doing anything more than just doing two services is amazingly enough free. Beyond that, there might be other services like that. There might be more local solutions, but OBS itself only does the one. I know some people have played around with some custom RTMP servers that could then do it. But yeah, Restream is pretty much sign up, link the accounts, and go. Well, and then you'll want to get the merge. You might want to get the merge chat widget, but yeah, because the two systems aren't able to talk to each other, so it can be helpful to put up the widget. I think they might also. I've also seen some people who actually re-chat through their account. Although one person I know said he got banned because somebody put a bad link into one chat and it showed up and got moderated on the other. Okay. I mean, I mean, for my purposes, I could probably get away with 1 byte. Okay. Because if I was thinking of using the number of lives as sort of a determiner of where to go down to extra detail levels, since they do get so vast. I haven't even gotten there yet. So we can specify anything we want as long as all our functions match up. And this, we think we can get by without actually pulling in map for this project. Okay, so this is to be comparable to that, so we're going to call that sure. There's going to be 2 ints. XY. One int is 4 bytes. I don't know if the number of bytes is really going to matter for us, so that's probably fine. We don't have table size, we don't have malloc data. Failed to open. So I mean, this is a test of something. Not very much, but something. So we have you see, like syntax is totally wrong. Oh, I should have had that here. For int. That's saying 41. Oop. Really? Did I delete too many? Oh. Well, what does other stuff use? Like map dot. Yeah, it just includes KissDB. Oh, okay. What does map.cpp use for hash table size? Oh, open time shrunk. So he tends to use 80,000 a lot. Okay, now this isn't going to do anything except maybe make it touch a database file. Okay. Now, before we can actually do anything with that, though, we really need to we need to open this file. Now, typically, where JSON, well, at least in the game client, where he opens a big text file, he just reads the entire thing. Although, from the Ruby stuff, they said it was more performant to sort of stream stuff in. Although that might be, is there a C method that's equivalent to get line like that? Actually, this might be more C file IO. I don't think he, yeah, fopen, reading a file, fget, new line character, it stops reading after encountering the first space character. Yeah, I think we want to do lines and then fscanf. If they're encountering the first space character? Like, just in general? Or if you've specified space in your format? Control how characters extracted from the stream are treated. Ignore any white space characters before the next white space character. Except format specifier. Next character from the stream compare discarded. Yeah, so this is kind of what he was using to read lines. So I could actually just fscanf and then attempt to read lines. Now, there are errors in the files. So step one is just to try and read the file. I might actually want to look at some of the linear DB3 stuff because this has some of the These files might end up getting big. Because this handles all of this kind of stuff, and it might be a decent place. Let's see, do I want to have function interface there? Function calls shouldn't be as expensive as that. So actually just having something whale, I guess I'd have to have like a log record or something. Even though I really don't need an XY. All right, I'm going to take a short break, and we'll see about making a little log reader here.
Wow.
But going down, you're basically flying.
What the hell? That was
Yeah,
interesting.
I'm kind of hugging.
Okay, I'm back. I got some food though, so I'm gonna be playing while I eat. If anybody died while I was gone, I'm gonna load it. Okay, I'm gonna mute myself for now.
For too big. God dang it. Ah, my baby. That's so fucking sad. All I can do is laugh. That is so freaking sad.
All right, welcome back. File offset bits, I think, wow. Stanlib, maybe some of these, we might see if we need them. By just having a place to define some things like this. Well, maybe that'd be better to extract later. But this is something that we need. Actually, I might be able to just, well, mostly use some code from here. So we'll kind of have some of the headers. So if we want to open a file, because you totally need to open files. So he's doing a bunch of data structure management. The file itself, which since this isn't the header file, we don't have the type of that. The file pointer. Open test file. It's only going to be read. Right, it's a database, so that's read and append. Right, plus. If input equals null, we're eventually going to want to be able to say which file failed. And at some point, we're going to want to f close input, which will eventually need to be someplace else. I didn't have a success message, but it didn't fail. So I think it's, we're going to say it was, well, there's fseek. We just want to, well, we want to see if we can actually fscanf this. For which, that's kind of big and ugly itself. So I guess the first step is to read one. Now I know the game code has some examples of doing this. So I need to be like reading values, but throwing most of them away. Integer, decimal. Oh, didn't it say, well, I suppose what we have to do is just read one character. Assume we're lined up at the beginning, which there's going to be some lines where that's not true. We might just have to consider those errors. So F. Because everything can be a different position depending on the record kind. And then we have to consider that it could be end of file. Well, the first one isn't going to be end of file. Now, we happen to know it starts off with a lot of birth records. So we should have already read that. So it's going to be white space. Decimal integer for the timestamp. And this is where we're going to need... and ultimately it's going to be in a loop. We're going to need places to put these because we want to be able to scan formatting. I don't know if there's a better type for timestamps. So I need an integer for that, an int for the ID, and a... How does it handle strings? First white space, terminating null characters automatically added. So I'm assuming it's replacing it in the text. Or in the loaded text. Oh, I'm only looking at birth records right now. And then we get the X and Y we want. I'm probably going to have to consider parent a string for now. And then death records are timestamp ID hash age. Oh, age is a float. Float double, I'm not sure. Gender coordinates. Okay, so a birth record should, and I have to see what the return value of this is, be a timestamp, an ID, a hash, a character, a coordinate, a parent, pop equals, chain equals. I don't know. And that's just a white space character. Any white space characters validates any quantity. Well, all right, so birth record is a timestamp, an ID, a hash. Oop, these are all pointers. Hash is a pointer, but we have to update the pointer. A gender, an X, a Y, a parent, a pop, and a chain. And we're mainly interested in can we read XY? Can that further const? Oh, wait. Oh, how? You probably have to specify the file, huh? Oop. That looks. That's weird. The first one is almost right, and then the next one is like total garbage. Is that not an int then? None int. Short long. Maybe I've got them misaligned somewhere? I guess for now. Okay, so timestamp, ID, hash, gender. Parent, pop, count. Probably should have kept the XY version too. They're not pointers anymore. Did we just crash? That seems like a crash. Okay. Is that completely the right number? That's not even pretending to be the right number. Oh 05/29, Wednesday. What the heck did I open here? Alright, so if we take a step back, what was it? Get string. Char pointer. Oh, wait, is my argument order backwards? No, no, file, format. Okay, so that's kind of annoying inversion. Stores them into a C string, into stir. Any ending new line characters. So we need to have a buffer. We have to fgets buffer I'm assuming that that's the total allowed size of the buffer, because that's the thing that would make sense, but it could be 255. All right, so first of all, is this what we're looking at? Oh, I was scrolled down one. Okay. So that still wasn't the right coordinates. And that affects file input position. 440. What the heck? I mean, if you go down far enough, you can probably find that. Well, no, that suggests it wasn't written. I was being lazy, but return values. Turns the number of items successfully filled. Didn't we not already have? We had file. You have error. Successfully filled 9 items. Does getC maybe not consume the input? No, that seems to consume the input. And then it leaves it as a spot where we've got a... Man, now I'm like, curious. Well, we've already got buffer. Where does the fscanf leave us? Okay, so we get that it fails. It leaves the input pointer at the next. So if it fails, it doesn't read anything. So we could actually do this as attempt birth, attempt death. Maybe. Now, if getString does consume it, okay, so that failed. Oh, because we're still doing the getC. I mean, I guess the directed reading could make more sense because it will partially succeed on those. And why is our timestamp totally borked? Now, and then we crash attempting to read the next bit. But why would it even be a crash? I mean, I can kind of get end of file would fail the file operation. Oh. So what do you do on error? Turn stir. Turned as a null pointer. So we've got to ask a bunch of indirect questions. Doesn't even consider it. That's why I don't want to deal with C. Okay. Okay. I guess we just have to back. So if it doesn't find something, does it just consume input? If only. Oh. Checks whether If FEOF actually and check the error, just non-zero. Oof. Read 9 and crash. The weird thing is that it does print that. So asking the questions causes it to crash? Asking if its end of file crashes the program? Okay, we've got a failed open check. I wish there was some information about the nature of the crash here. Maybe I'm going to have to do read line and then scan string, because fscanf is doing some pretty wonky stuff here. Well, I guess it's possible that I'm got well, yeah, if I had misaligned fields, it could be writing into weird places. Or does it expect my string pointers to be buffers with unbounded size? String scanf, what you could do gets and fscanf. Stored sequence. Well, there's an S. Okay, they are using a buffer. So that could explain some things. Now there's no Well, maybe in the format specifier, you can specify a maximum size. Maximum number of characters to be read in the current operation. From the stream, but ignored. Oh. Okay. Well, that simplifies all kinds of things, doesn't it? So we want that. This is pretty much just to specify the variability. So now we don't need any of this weird stuff. It's probably going to complain about unused variables. It's not complaining about buffer right now. It seemed kind of weird I had to make variables for all that stuff. Not end of file, not error. And I had like totally removed my print code. That looks more reasonable. All right, now. So now if it fails, and I removed my fget string. Fget is buffer if it fails, we are still at that 73447, unless that was twins. Yeah. Now we do have to know whether the first attempt succeeded or not. And this was also a birth record format. So result should be 2. Well, I mean, really, not equal to. These actually can be compressed because it's a very small. All right, so death record is timestamp ID hash age equals %d %f gender XY, reason, pop, so in order to test that that works, we want to do a couple of iterations. And once it's just going to be a loop until end of file. I don't know if I want to dump the entire thing just yet. While if both of these fail, they don't consume input. Did I? Yes. So that should hopefully guarantee that we can always can attempt to do input. I guess we should probably say not F error. And hmm. I might want to track. No, for this purpose, I don't care about births and deaths. I do want to know. Well, I should be able to match them up. All right, 447, 443, 99, 8262. No, that's a parent equal. See, I don't see. That's the ID. Well, there's a dead 6-2. Born 362. Died 362. But this seems out of order. 447, 443. 399. Oh, 399982 399 82 362. Where'd 49420 come from? That skipped the death record. Blah, blah, blah. I'll say bad line if there was a result not equal to 2. Birth, 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 death. 362. So is it not reading these in order? Because of some file buffering thing? Death 362. Oh, there's 393. Am I just getting confused by matching up text? Right, because you get these repeating patterns, so I see 1362 and go back to the other one. Well, that seems to work for most of them. Now that's going to be very strict in the input format. So it will just kind of reject bad lines. Okay, so reading that day, which probably not the biggest file. Went pretty fast. That's just reading. This is going to be streaming, so we wouldn't end up using a whole lot of memory on stuff. Although I might want to abstract that bit of it. Well, how much do I really need to do? This is where I have to look back at the Ruby program. This is where we need the database. Actually, you're going to need it before this. Okay. Yeah, I might have to pull some functions out. But for a first step, we've got a database, we've got an XY. I need to look at... I'll just do it one-to-one first. Even KISS test probably has... Oh! I guess it's all quad to key. Test X, test Y. I guess that's more what he's doing. Should I just put... Or should I get? Actually, for linear DB, they kind of end up running through a very similar function. It's supposed to figure out all the bucket stuff. Quad to key. I have to understand how to use keys. That is, okay, we have a key-sized buffer and we have a value-sized buffer. Which are... unsigned car. Oh. I didn't change that one. Well, I would like to function it, but are you talking about the Ruby code? Yeah, that's why it's incredibly slow. And well, I want to move it on to something else. Since Jason has helpfully provided us with a coordinate indexed database, I figured I'd give the C++ a try. So given an XY, we have well, I have considered doing a circle algorithm in there because that would technically remove some tiles. And add some complexity to the calculation itself, we'd end up doing fewer database writes. Oh, well, value is just going to be... Well, int to value. Aha, I might need... Okay, so int to value is coming from somewhere else. db key value. Oop. For key. This color scheme is terrible here. Huh. I thought that the biome DB, maybe biome DB isn't using linear DB3? Yeah, 3 ints, 2 ints, floor DB. It's just a DB. They're all DB. What's up with that? Oh, because I was running it before. With the bad value in there. Okay, so a single file, no big deal. Now at the C level, well, we need these are raw tile coordinates. Which I guess is a worst case. Scene tiles. So right now we've got a zoom. Okay, apparently don't have POW as an operator. Okay, and then the range is a precalculation for Ruby. Now we also have to convert the XY to tile coordinates, which actually, yeah, since we're testing it, initially doing initial test, a very, very high zoom. Actually, can we have block scope, right? Actually, what I should do is do this all here. XY, tile X, tile Y. Then we want to tile X, tile Y. Okay, so first step, tile conversion. I don't think negative coordinates should be 0, 0. There might be a difference in rounding here. So you're doing integer. Maybe you had some older code that I worked it out properly at, and then when I changed some stuff up, it became invalid? That's not missing all my tiles. Although it actually did seem to be working, so that's a slightly different method of doing that. So how do... what tile should that be? In leaflet think, so the game do I still have some tiles here? Oh, but this is not set to allow us to go in that far. Max native zoom, I might have something down there. Yeah, okay, so I did the 4 tiles that were right there. Now this is, the graticals are offset, so I believe the actual tile should be here. So in game terms, this is negative, this is positive. In leaflet terms, they're flipped. So this should be tile 0, 0. So actually the Y is right, it's the X that's not coming out okay. Because the negative coordinate is getting rounded all the way to 0. Well, and the Y's on the other side. So I may have to do... So for values sufficiently less, well, there's positive. I didn't put Y in. Okay, so for a tile coordinate, that's not right. Leaflet wants to see -1 here for the y coordinate. How do we make that happen? Is that just an adjust by 1? I did have those parentheses in there at one point, but it seems like that was causing me some problems. Is that a 1 minus? That's a positive 1? Right. There's -1. That fixes this, but I don't think it's going to fix some others. Then this we would expect to be, see if that's 0, -1. This would be -1, 0, which is probably going to have the same problem in x. Yeah. Well, the way you do a round up or down in that kind of system, I think, is you adjust by tile width first. Which this might also have some troubles with boundaries. All right, back to our sort of base case. So we have to do a negative. We want to bias that towards what? We want to bias a y coordinate that is positive to be the whole thing. And to be negative. So that outer one isn't actually helping us here. Okay, that's -1, that's 0. I might need to try out some easier to manage tile widths at some point here. Well, let's just zoom level. So 32 minus 32 would be 0, would be tile width 1. just want to make sure that it scales somewhat sensibly. Now you see, that takes -8 to 7. Well, most of the time we're not going to get anywhere close to that. Yeah, this is what I was concerned about, is the -1 on... Well, is that affecting positive? It's taking it to -5. Let's make this even simpler. Okay, 1, 1 goes to -1, -1. We're at a 2-size tile right now. Let's see, I believe we're at a 2-size tile right now. Yeah, so a 2x2 tile. Oh, right, because actually it would be 0. Would go to 0, -1. 1 would go to -1. 2, we've now gone an entire tile. I didn't save. Would then have to go to -2. All right, so -1 by inversion of -1 would have to go to 0. -2, right, it's the 2's complicate gets weird. Oh. That seemed like too much. Okay, 0 is -1, so 1 is, no, so 1 and 2. Are 0. Oh, so that means 3 should be 1. All right, so -3. So in the game coordinate system, that's somewhere down here. We go up by 2, divide by tile width. And what am I missing with this? Alright, so we need a way. Oh, we've got X and we've got Y. We have a method of translating coordinates. I guess we could do rather than making that a function. Can you do literal arrays? So we have 0, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Okay, it doesn't complain yet. Oh, and then we have -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. And we expect -1, -1, -2, -2, -3, -3. And 0, 0, -1, -1, -2. So there's 0 and then 5 other things. They're 2 by 2 tiles, so it has to be every 2. Except now I need y equals 0, y less than length. Well, no, this isn't y. This is I. And tile y equals there. In theory, we should do this with x as well. For now, we're just going to say x is there. Yeah, except we can actually say expected. Input. Shush. Except we actually care about expected now. So that coordinate goes to tile Y with tile width. Not the greatest alignment. Okay, so the positives are all... What the heck? I put my Y here. Wait. What? Did I typo something in the other one? That says -3 is -1. Oh no, this is the desired and not the actual. So we got 0, 0, 0 for -1, -2, -3. It does look as it starts to pick up a. Well, no, that's my code. What do you do? We expect -2. Oh no, actually, it is positive. Okay, yeah, so it's shifted by 1. But the positive side works fine. And of course, now what I want to do... -1, -1, -2, -2, -3, -3. So we shift by 1 if the input was negative. Is this by any chance something like this? And I really do need to do this more like a test suite, so... so this is tile Y equals output Y. Nope. Okay, so the half works for the negative, but just moves that extra 0 up 1 into the positives. How do you describe that as a mathematical function? Coordinates. If y is negative. Nope. We have to do it less to affect the positives. Well, actually, that was sufficient to fix negative. But it's also sufficient to break positive. Nope. So +1 is sufficient to fix negative. Which means what? Okay, well that breaks everything. And that makes -2 negative. Weren't you a plus? No. Oh, man. So we've got a point. At 0, it's, 1, 1, whatever. We need to call this box. Is that kind of a 2's complement instead of a negative? Okay, maybe it was there? -1. So that's basically the same as negative? Something less than the total. And that looks like it's actually accomplishing the same thing as negative. Oh, no, it's not. Breaks everything. Yeah. Maybe I need to be rounding towards 0? No, so the baseline formula is fine for positive, right? No. Well, +1 is kind of as similar as that. So for positive, we always have the 3, like the one extra 0. And I presume that if I turned this up to like 4, we'd have a whole bunch of zeros plus the 1 in the center. So I almost need to be able to go half a tile. So that it's never 0. Or rather, half a coordinate in the source, which is integer, so you can't do, so that you never have a 0. Oh, I mean, 0 has to go somewhere. It's very specific to there. That evenly dispositions the zeros around that. Now that is going to sort of invert it. And we still have 3 zeros. Yeah, the rounding is kind of the... The rounding towards 0 is creating an extra 0. Because 0 goes to 0, and then 1 and negative 1 go to 0. It's still got 3 of them. So maybe this is a coordinate of cell versus boundary of cell kind of thing? Because Leaflet, the game is thinking of tiles as grid locations. Well, no, Leaflet's kind of thinking of grid locations too. Now wait a minute, we've essentially got this, right? Output, map tile, map pull end. Okay, so the offset is just an offset. So this is going, well, that should be a map, that should be a tile height. Which didn't seem to be working for us. Tile width, tile height, kind of the same thing. Computer? I mean, maybe I was off by 1 all along, but it seems like the tiles were coming out okay. But the end should have just been that plus the... Oh, but it was aligned... The start was aligned to the base of a tile. So we have to do y minus... Which probably kind of makes us a bit of a plus 1. No. So the positives are still fine. Because they're like minus 1 plus 1 on the odds. And then the negatives are now... It's like we have the right number of zeros, but now it's negative ones. I guess then there's a question of how does C handle the sign on this? Alright, you are getting gnarly. Zero, 1, 0, 1. Okay, so that does change the sign. So do I need to do abs? Maybe some of my other systems were not. Or maybe, instead of this, could we do... Well, it would have to be y plus... Oh. Round up. Plus the difference, but it has to be the absolute difference, because we're always moving upward, regardless of which direction we're going. It has to be absolute, because we don't care. So we're always moving up, not relative to that. And we've already rounded our tile coordinates and the other stuff, so we're always working with tiles. It could mean the Ruby chord's off. And then I think x would just be not negative. But I feel like after going through that, I should probably check it. All right, so we expect zero to go to zero. Well, 1 to go to 0. 2 to go to 1. 3 to go to 1. 2. 2. And then negative 1 to go to negative 1. Negative 2. Or negative 1. Negative 2. Negative 3. Negative 3. And they are the same length right now. well, I suppose I'm better off just we think it might be that, or maybe it's even just divide. Oh, because you don't have to offset it. You don't have to like do the round up thing. So you might be just straight up. And oh boy. We have to do a round down? Well, it's all 0 to 0, so something's wrong. Like that. Okay. So our negatives are off again. We have our 3 zeros. So it probably does look a little bit more like this. So are we still rounding up or rounding down? That becomes the question. Oh man, that's... Well, that's not it. Maybe this is more like... Okay. Interesting that the round down... Right, because that's always rounding towards 0. We need to round towards a tile edge. All right, does this depend on... Well, it depends on x and y. You're not really depending on any of this stuff. Int, tile width. No, it's column. Oh, and I still had leftover code here from the other testing stuff. Okay, so realistically, we were operating at 2 and saying we weren't liking the answers we were getting. And we need to test that. Okay, so that actually got a little bit complicated. Although in theory, I only have to do this once. For every coordinate we scan. And you were still set up, you were not set up for a small scale test. But it's still saying 0, 0. Negatives shouldn't be 0, 0. Negative values should be getting, I mean, admittedly I have a very, 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 very large tile right now. Oh, for y. Doesn't explain x though. Because x should be positive to that. So how the heck? I guess I need to be testing at larger values. Unfortunately, my test set isn't large enough to get multiple things. That's a more realistic value. Oh, of course, the tests were all geared to the other set, so. Wait. All the x's go to 0. Only a couple of the y's go to 0. Well, no, y is fine. It's x's. Take a little bit before negative becomes negative. But now I need to have completely different test vectors for this. it's so weird that we got it to work out before. That might mean that the Ruby tiles are completely off. I mean, even as much as they seem to be working out okay, could be doing the math differently. But to start doing these other scales, we essentially need to have like entirely different functions because it's explicit test data. And I'm trying to actually discover the relationship between these things. I can't just make a functional way of doing it. Alright, for a tile width of 2, and I almost don't even need zoom here. I guess, since the problem's scaling up, so we would expect 4 to have 4 zeros, and then some 1s, and 4 negative 1s, and then some 2s. We would expect you to extend your zeros. Oh, no, not... Oh, okay, you actually got to that. -1, -1, -1. We overwrote a comma somewhere. Oh, nope, because we replaced this. Ooh. Yeah, we're already breaking down. That was just too simple of a case. So for x, -1 goes to 0. X minus the remainder, so that's going to be 1. Actually, we've even got that. Oh, right, yeah, it's 4. So -1, -2, -3. Absolute value of that. We take it to 0. Wait, how did that work in the 2 case? Oh, but I've got exits there. And yet it works. x minus 1 is negative 1. X minus 1 is 0. How are those? They both have a remainder of negative 1. Oh, negative 1 minus positive 0 is negative 2, which divides by 2 to get negative 1. Negative 1 minus 1 is negative 2, which divides by 4 to get 0. So that as the x is actually not moving us towards our other edge, or towards any edge, quite the way we want. Well, it can't be abs x. Any sine stuff we do. Well, then that takes negatives. If I do minus the not abs, then that takes the negative 1. What, actually, negative 1 to 0 is correct? It's correct for 4. Wait. That's the y's? What? Oh no, that's the negative. Okay, so that is making it worse. Making it a lot worse. As x goes negative, we end up at negative 1. I think that's how it's supposed to translate. As x goes negative, we end up at 0. So do you also need to be going towards a particular edge? That's kind of fixes most cases, but not like that one. We've got problems with y too. I need to adjust you at all. Well, the other one we clearly needed to. Now I was doing 2 and then 4. So now a bunch of -1 goes to 0. So I need to be rounding you up. What does rounding a negative number up mean? What? But that's only a negative. So we have that. It's negative. So if we add a negative, doesn't even fix most of them. We'll break some others. Oh no, this has to be. I'm gonna break a bunch of stuff. I'm gonna break all the x's. I didn't get any of them right. So we want this to be the difference. Also, this is getting to get my. I don't know. I'm gonna have to look up how allocating space for the sign bit works. Okay, so as long as we stay single digit, that's fine. Just got a whole lot of. I guess I could turn this into a function that took the test cases, maybe. So in theory, we do want to be using the same formula for everything. Well, that's somewhat aligned. I probably really need. So yeah, I'd have to be able to pass test cases, and the formulas are different. There'd be a whole lot of test cases. And And I forgot new line in every single one of these. With duplicating stuff, you duplicate your errors. Okay, that kind of breaks things up. So tile 0 ends up as a -1, where it should not. I probably do need to have, well, I've got multiple things I'm testing. Do I have to do this differently depending on whether it's positive or negative? There actually was an awkward bit of rounding I had to do when I was aligning boxes. And I kind of had to customize my adds and subtracts of the difference to round things. Which seemed very weird and peculiar, but it was kind of the same problem I'm having now. Or things are just getting weird depending on our coordinates. Which I guess one way to solve it would be to get rid of positive, to offset everything by the maximum value. Shrink it and translate back. Because then you wouldn't have any signs. So that would be man, are there values? Man, what do I want to offset by? Do I want it to be maximum int or minimum int? Well, one of them's going to be right, one of them's going to be wrong. CC max signed int. Limits. Object of type int. So I actually have to print out what these are. So in this system, we would expect this to be something like int max. I guess we should probably do but it might have to be the other for compatibility purposes. Oh. Okay. Do we need to... Okay, so these are, in fact, the numbers we want. Now it's just a question of which one do we want. Oh, I'm actually... I guess we were setting that to the printf result? Let's see. So x minus... If it's a coordinate of 0, we want to move it out. We want 0 to become the most negative value. So x plus int min? Oh, but that would have to... Oh, I don't have the resolution to convert that to a unsigned at the same time. And the way 2's complement works, I can't just invert it. So I'm still back to having to handle positives and negatives separately. All right, game source. Map poll. Yeah, so we got our start coordinate has to be aligned to a tile. And we actually ended up using the end coordinate of y because of the inversion. And that was moving start and end. This is just a point. So I guess what we want is start x and end y. Which logic is getting complicated enough that we're going to have to go ahead and functionalize it? We could do one function call that took pointers to both and mucked them up. And the code we're doing, in fact, did move the original thing around. So we could do... Well, now if we move them around... I guess we're better off just doing int x, int y. So it's very clear input, output. I'll have to, for the test functions, I will be calling something we don't need. No, wait, oh, this just wasn't indented in JSON style. Neither were these. Okay, so we want 1x, want to modify the start x and right, it's a single point, and the there. So we're only going to have one of these. All right, so going to be our x. We can leave these in since we're still debugging everything. And this is going to be tile x equals so these handle these very differently depending on the sign, which is kind of where we seem to be heading. X minus oh, and this is pointers. Oh, and these aren't tile coordinates, these are just the coordinates. Which we can then safely divide, in theory. So this is the offset. I could come back and do it again, but or we could just do it. Now this is where we have to deal with if we negate things. And in theory, we've already got a test set for this. Now I could make this 2x and 2y as put my test cases. The normal usage, you'll want to do both at once. Alright, so int tile x. X0 tile width tile x U or Y. This is back to X. And it's still wrong. Seems to be mostly in the x's. I'm going to focus on negative x's. So the mod follows the sign of that. So this case seems to be the bit that's wrong. And at least we can break it down now a little bit better. So that should be, so the negative case, we're off by exactly 1. Nope. Now we're up by 1 the other way. That fixes most of them. And because it's negative, that's actually like a we're subtracting the leftover. So if the initial modulus is negative, this is almost the same case we were in before, where it's just that first one where it kind of rounds down a little bit. And this had to be plus tile width, though. Well, this was that. I don't suppose. Nope. That's like off by 2. Which is probably the sign of that and the sign of that. You are already. Well, it just inverts the sign of every. Oh. Which. This is a negative. Okay. Do tile chord X, Y, tile width. This could almost just be a static variable. All right, I believe the Y 0, because we're at a very, very high zoom right now. It was supposed to be kind of proof of concept, so if we're around here, that seems somewhat reasonable from what the stuff I was seeing before. So ultimately, what we need to do is have an output file. Well, we need to put it in the database. Some of these should resolve down to the same thing. So we get down to here, we're done with everything. We shouldn't need the test files. And should not kiss test, have to do some iteration. Well, does it iterate keys? DB iterator. Iterator next gets the gets the key and the value. Oh. Can I detranslate the key? Because it is supposed to be a hash table. So it returns a key, but can you use that for anything? Oof. Now, there was a thing that rewrote the database files. Right, that may actually be in map. Open time shrunk. That has to iterate over it somehow, right? DB iterator next. Oh, X and Y. Okay. So the key is just some number of bytes, and he's not really hashing those per se. Those are all parameters. File db file. Open iterator, iterator init. All right, we've already got a key and a value. We already have an x and a y, which are really tile x and tile y. And this is where we want to, and I wasn't doing any attempt to count these this time, because I haven't used that yet. Oh, okay. Linear DB3. Oh. Because that one got past a pointer. Whoa. Yeah, so at this scale, that compressed down nicely. And now the problem we have is when we go down to higher zoom levels, well, and that didn't expand it very much. But what I started doing is we've got the around level by %d tile width. Yeah. So this should already be, okay, around 7. So for every point, we want to get our xy, and then dx less, we start at negative around, we should probably go to around. I guess it doesn't really matter whether I do x or y. As traditional iteration does, well, y first. Okay, so that still crunches for a bit. So I presume that's faster, but I don't really know. We do have some timing. Well, I don't have any really good timing on the rate of Ruby. So what we really care about, well, I mean, start time's fine. So 12 seconds. I don't have a good baseline for what it takes to process one file in Rubyland. Well, let's take this somewhat gradually because it is exponential. And this could also be where I want to go in and implement the circle algorithm because it's faster than doing all of the set operations that we're effectively doing through the database. Wait a minute. Those don't feel like translated tile coordinates. Hey, because... yeah, we're not doing that. But weren't those translating to like hundreds? At this? Oh no, because we're getting closer to the real scale. It still feels awfully close though. So at worst, around should be 0. We should go from -0 to 0 and do 1. Okay, so 55 seconds there. We didn't actually do as many database operations. Oh, the other thing I'm going to have to watch out for well, nothing's actually being saved to the database yet. Because I would not want to carry stuff between trials. Okay, so the multiple coordinates do slow it down, it feels like. Yeah. I also feel like that didn't actually expand our area. Maybe it is getting hashed? Now, these are not going to be compressed, but we should get left with a few numbers that we can look at. Yeah, these are in a very different range. Maybe it's a different translation function? Well, we know what int pair to key does. So this should probably be done at a much higher zoom level. Because we are testing our bidirectional conversion. All right, we're now printing lots and lots of stuff. Okay. So the key we calculated seems to be detranslatable from key. But if we iterate the database, oh, you know what? Have I merged this to base since he put in the patch? Because I wasn't really relying on LinearDB before. That is modified. Oops, I had a stash. I don't know why I had a stash. Well, that's living life, which we haven't touched here. Get reset. Minus hard. Well, game source, really. Okay. Okay. Nope, it's still saying modified. But what I wanted to do was save those things, not the indexed things. How do I guess what I need to do is undo add. Then I can check it out. Okay, just reset. Get checkout game source. Okay, now what we wanted to do was get stash push. Wait. Oh, have I not? Oh, I've never checked this. Okay. Pff. I was seeing the other modified, and because that script is still running. So that means we should be able to, although it's going to see that as modified and might try to block. Merge remote tracking branch. Yeah, linear DB3. Well, we must have actually written some stuff to the database at some point. Because this is all in the same little quadrant. And it's all there. So I pretty much want to clear the database every time we do this. So it turns into a multipass thing. And the way we do that, cleaning, cleaning, cleaning. If not exists, temp file, db open old db, db temp file. He has file. Huh, so I wonder if that was the linear DB bug that was making stuff not right in the other program. Hmm. I mean, it's not really a temp file. Oh. Path. Oh, no, because now I have to make scene tiles, minor gems. Minor gems, IO. Well, there is a path thing there, but wait. Type IO. Oh boy. I've been doing this. Oh. System Unix time Unix. Hmm. Wait, so what is... File log. Needed minor gems objects. Because you obviously use file. And which it must be in one of these. Type IO. Yeah, so he's got some system to abstract all that stuff out, which I wasn't trying to make this as complicated of a thing. All right, so the interim solution is we just don't worry about this. And yeah, well, actually, let me do that. Permission denied. Because I've got folder protection on. Oh, no, wait, there's a... I cannot find minor gems. Oh, yeah. Command not found, and I think RM. Oh! Okay, well, it's a bit spammed now. Printf. So if we expand this up a bit, okay, that's a whole bunch of stuff. And then around here it got slow. So it's never going to be fast. But hopefully that will be faster than the Ruby. That's still 1 day of our current activity level. And I guess some of the real hitches are during higher activity levels. And I haven't actually set up directory iteration yet, which I'm already a little late on the late side for lunch. Oh, now that we're actually doing database operations, it takes a little bit longer. So I still need directory iteration. I still need to have this printed out to a file. So already 2 minutes. I haven't tried to time what the Ruby's doing. So 2 minutes. Well, I know that files, that would be 1 over 125 to invert it. Well, okay, so that's still 0 files per second, which... Huh. Huh. I mean, Ruby was like... Well, some of the other ones were like 0.01 files per second, although it kind of depends on which file you're dealing with. I might also be able to investigate whether doing a read test before writing helps. But I think the way LinearDB3 works, it's kind of the same function to read or write. But you're technically not doing file I/O if you write, or file writes if you read only. So maybe a lot of the duplicate checking would be better that way. The other thing I might have to do is get a version of the Ruby script that we can aim at exactly one file so that we can kind of compare them a little bit more apples to apples. And of course, this has to actually be, doing its output and stuff to be fair in that. But like as I said, I want to eat lunch sometime. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching. We want that one. Thanks for everybody who hosted me. Do we have any other stuff going on? Got some game dev. And that is my typical schedule. I guess I do sometimes go a little late. Well, there's some authentication stuff going on, which I guess that might be as basic as doing some coordinate translation. Twitch is coming up slow right now. All right, definitely still going. If you're looking for someplace cool to hang out, Brooke Zerker is someplace cool to hang out. He's also doing some coding and talking through what he's doing. Working on authentication for web stuff right now. But yeah, thanks for hanging out with me. Goodbye, and until next time, I'll probably be back to play One Life this afternoon.